Chapter 58, The Grinning Man. The figure seemed to be out for a stroll of all things, of all times, and of all places. And as he got closer, Michael could see he was an elderly-looking gent with a three-piece suit, and with a golden pocket watch chained to his side and tucked away into his breast pocket. What the hell am I seeing here? Thought Michael as the old fart finally reached him. What the fuck is it with this night, with everything I've seen? And now fucking Bilbo Baggins here. Fine, let's see what else you got for me tonight. You the Shakespeare here, and I'm just poor old Hamlet trying to avoid getting to the whole to be or not to be part, thought Michael, looking up to the man upstairs. Michael now reacted. Pardon me, governor. Got the time, said Michael with a terrible English accent. Wait, did I just call him Even though he wasn't feeling it, Michael just couldn't resist throwing in that whole governor bit sarcastically at the end, since the character he was seeing here didn't seem like someone he'd expect from this part of the world at this time, and more like some Victoria-era man from merry old England. Oh, sure. It's now 1 o'clock on the dot. Thanks. This was now definitely the last thing Michael expected to see in the middle of Central Park at this hour. He was a jolly old codger who looked like he belonged in some antique shop, and the ones you'd see at the mall that no one entered, and you didn't want to enter either since it sold shit that was too old to be relevant for today's commerce, yet the store continued to stay open somehow. His voice had sawdust in it, but he didn't have that English accent that Michael had fancied him to. And what was now really beginning to put Michael off about this whole thing was how leisurely he seemed to be taking things. That, and to Michael, he also seemed very familiar, as if he knew him from someplace. Excuse me, said Michael. Yes? Asked the man, looking like some old elf with a pocket full of smiles. Who are you? Oh! My name is Mr. Parsley, and who might you be? Oh, me? Mr. Confused. Mr. Confused, huh? The man now seemed a little amused with Michael's response. And to tell you the truth, I'm out here looking for a man named Mr. Answers. Have you seen a guy with that name? And if you have, could you point me in his direction? Asked Michael, for he didn't know what else to do. This was all starting to seem very off and also a little silly. And Michael didn't know if he should play along or should take it as seriously as she should be taking it. The old codger stood there grinning for a bit and then responded, Mr. Answers, eh? Well, I'm afraid I couldn't tell you. Maybe if you could describe him to me, what he looks like, I might be of more help. Madboy was now beginning to grow fed up with this man and his hickory-dickory bullshit. He now figured him off as some senile old kook, completely oblivious to where he was and how much danger he was in. But something else about the man made Michael also think different. Well, the person I'm looking for is dressed in a big red hooded cloak. He carries a scythe and likes to eat yuppies and little babies' faces for breakfast. Have you seen such a man? Asked Michael, starting up the wisecrack just to see how Mr. Parsley would respond to it. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't say that I have, but if you'd like, you can accompany me and maybe we could find this fella together. Who the fuck? Michael felt clueless. He didn't know what to make of the grinning man, for he wasn't responding in a sensible way to the things Michael was saying, whether Michael was being jokey about it or not. For Mr. Parsley was now taking things too leisurely, and his level of calm and comfort was making Michael feel very uncalm and uncomfortable. But Michael felt helpless on what to do now, and figured he might as well follow him along a little and see where the man would lead him. I could still take him out if the fucker tries anything weird. And now the man was moving at a snail's pace, which got Michael to get off his chopper and have him following along beside him to keep the same pace. Excuse me. Yes, asked the man as he stopped and looked back. No. Let's walk and talk, keep moving. The two continued. Where the fuck is he leading me? And why am I following him again? Now he seemed to want to go off trail as he started heading towards where the woods were at their thickest. And seeing as to how haunting they were, the woods ahead looking like they were bearing eyes, teeth, and sinister ideas, Michael decided to stop. Okay, I'm not interested in playing any more games. I'm not going any further. I just want to know who you are, and And what are you doing here in the middle of the night? Asked Michael earnestly. Well, I could be asking you the same question, responded the grinning man. Yes, I understand that, but I don't know, Mr. Parsley. You see, I know where I'm at right now. I'm just curious to know if you do too. Well, this is Central Park, isn't it? Yes. Yes, you're right, but don't always believe what you hear, Mr. Connelly. That was it. Michael had had enough of the grinning man and his tomfoolery. Either he had heard him calling out his full name earlier, or he damn well knew something. And now Michael felt like dealing with this gent like his old self would. Very uncouth and uncivilized, like. Okay, stop, demanded Michael. Yes? Who the hell are you, really? And how are you connected to the Night Slashers? Asked Michael. How am I connected to whom? Michael pulled out Madboy's revolver and began pointing. You damn well know the group of jerk-offs I'm talking about, the Night Slashers, the nutcases that live in this park. And prey on unsuspecting, as I said, Mr. Connelly. Don't always believe in everything you hear. And then all of a sudden, with those lines, Michael now found himself in the middle of an ambush. From within the woods, the surrounding mist and shadows swarmed out the men of the hour, all dressed the part, yet carrying no sights. They were all around him, numbering what seemed to be in the hundreds, and all Michael could think was how so many men could have snuck up on him all at once. Okay, so what was that you said, Mr. Parsley? Don't believe everything you hear. Then what's this? Asked Michael, too afraid to know how afraid he had now become. Mr. Parsley said no words and made no movements anymore, and it was now standing there smiling like some old troll turned to stone. Hey, I'm talking to you, called out Michael. Mr. Connelly. It was one of the men in cloaks now, and he was a heavy-set figure with a pointy beard, which was all Michael could make of his face underneath this hood. So, who the hell are you? Asked Michael. Mr. Sage, responded he. Okay, Mr. Sage, mind telling me what you guys want? Mr. Sage didn't continue. What, you didn't hear me? Michael looked away at Mr. Parsley, who was now practically a statue, still grinning from ear to ear. It was as if the old Rip Van Winkle had become part of the scenery, had it fallen to another 100-year slumber or so. So, Mr. Connelly, what do you plan on doing with that gun? Asked Mr. Sage. Oh, fuck me, shit's getting weird. I just keep holding the gun at them all, and maybe I can find a way out of this, thought Michael, and then said, I don't know. Shoot down as many of you as I can, then beat the fuck out of the rest of you with my own fists. How does that sound? Ah, fuck. I really gotta stop going off on autopilot like that with my responses. How the fuck am I gonna do all that? Mr. Sage couldn't help but make a few laughs and shake his head. Mr. Connelly, that revolver can only carry 6 bullets, and there are 53 of us out here. Do you really plan on firing off those shots and taking on 47 of us left with your bare hands? Asked Mr. Sage. Actually, there's only 5 bullets left in this gun, so I'm gonna have to put my hands on only the 48 of you that's left, explained Michael. Okay, enough with the dirty hairy shit. Michael then forced a chuckle, a demented chuckle, trying to make it sound all deranged, as if to show how seriously wacko he was willing to get with them. One psycho not to be messed with. Mr. Sage's face had now grown dead sober. So, you're really willing to kill again, Michael? With the night you've had, I don't think you would want to make any more enemies. I mean, how much more jeopardy do you want to put yourself in? Asked Mr. Sage, and then smirked contradictorily. Wait a sec. They knew about him and the killing of Madboy. Michael didn't expect this, and he now understood that they really weren't the men from the crazy stories he had heard. Those Night Slashers, Michael didn't expect them to be this well informed about things, or even intelligent enough to speak. Okay, so if you guys aren't the Night Slashers, then who are you? Asked Michael, growing frustrated. For some reason, I feel like I'd rather be dealing with those Looney Tune characters than these guys. For these guys here seem a lot more formidable. Oh, so you don't think we're the Night Slashers anymore? Asked Mr. Sage. Well, from what I've heard, word of mouth and all, you guys were supposed to be a bunch of real demented and deranged nutbags. Reclusive freaks all into some wacky occult shit, and yet you know who I am and the night I've had, explained Michael. Oh, good. You're intelligent, responded Mr. Sage. What? Gasped Michael, unwilling to have them think that. I mean, it's nice to see you're capable of rational thought. Sorry, but you really got me all wrong there, explained Michael. So you're not intelligent? Nope, not really. Actually, I'm really very dumb. So don't build any expectations thinking I will be all civil-like now and... No, Mr. Connelly, that's what you would like us, and maybe even yourself, to think. But we know that you're actually very intelligent. You know what's at stake here, and we believe you wouldn't be stupid enough to just start firing away before coming to a rational decision, explained Mr. Sage as he drove his point across. Really? Me? Brains? Joked Michael. I don't want them to think that way. As long as they believe I might start shooting, they might be more willing to cooperate. Yes, you, Brains. You can play the role of the brawling idiot all you want as a means to justify your actions and your sins. But we know everything there is to know about you, and if you've heard of the Night Slashers, I think you might have heard of us, said Mr. Sage as he lifted his cloak up a bit, exposing his eyes. Come again? I'm supposed to know you ugly old dudes how? Asked Michael. Mr. Connelly. Do you know the French word for a forgotten place? Asked Mr. Sage, which surprised Michael that the old man knew he knew French. A French word for a forgotten place? You mean... And once Michael thought of the word, it then came to him, as he now knew exactly who these men were and the sort of men he was dealing with. They're the oubliettes. Also, he just now recognized where he had seen Mr. Parsley's face before, for this was the judge that had sentenced him to prison all those years ago. And by some strange coincidence, here he was, again standing with the rest of his organization. You're the oubliettes, responded Michael while pointing with his revolver. Mr. Sage smiled and nodded to show accordance. From what little Michael knew about them, their stories were the stuff of urban legend. They were a group of judges who had decided to take the law into their own hands, and had delved into some real occult-like shit, getting involved with mysticism and magic of the dark kind. What a night, and the fucked up part is I sorta asked for this too. From what Michael was seeing of their robes and the strange aliases, now it was apparent that the tall tales he had been hearing for years about them weren't too far off. Just about everyone on the East Coast had heard of them, and most had made them out to be heroes of the common folk, besides being made out to be anything more than modern-day Robin Hood's equivalents would be. Yeah, that's right, robbing the rich and giving to the poor type of shit. The story being their deal all about victimizing all the rich assholes of the city with the biggest wallets, the Fifth Avenue bunch, and through blackmail and extortion. And if that didn't work out, they'd kidnap them and have them flogged or flailed or stuck them with red-hot pokers in some medieval dungeon under the Bronx. What, I'm not making this up. Still, supposedly they were heroes for the likes of Michael, but Michael then again felt no inclination to buy into them right now that he knew who they were. Not just yet, for he had a bad feeling about all this. I mean, I'm right now dealing with a bunch of guys in cloaks in the middle of the woods at midnight. Would anyone blame me if I did? Okay, so now I know who you guys are. What do you want with me? What do you want me to do, repent? Asked Michael, worrying about whatever wacko religious shit their outfit must have detailed. That's all I need right now, getting dragged underground and having to deal with some Temple of Doom shit, or Wicker Man shit, or I don't know what. Me and my stupid understanding, all I got is mindless popcorn movies to fill in the details, and something tells me the real shit would be way more horrifying to imagine. No, it's not going to be as simple as that, I'm afraid, responded a third figure, stepping forward. His face was as pale and crusted as the moon from very old age. Okay, who are you now? Asked Michael, wondering how many more of them he was going to be addressing tonight. Personally, I'm Mr. Rosemary. Right, well, it's nice meeting all you folks, but I'm still not sure what you guys want. If you guys think letting me know who all you are is supposed to impress me, forget it. I ain't buying whatever you guys might be selling. Michael then spat on the ground, showing dismissal. Mr. Connelly, you can underestimate us all you want, but it's not going to make things any easier for... Bang! Michael had fired a round off into the air. Well, now I guess I'm down to 4 bullets, said Michael as he grinned, seeing how startled they all got from the discharge. Now you guys get it. I ain't fucking... That's a pity. Because I still haven't fired my gun that's still holding 6, even though all I need is one to take care of you, said another oubliette standing behind Michael. Michael felt the barrel of a gun up against the back of his head. So who are you now? Asked Michael as he began to lose his stripes. I'm Mr. Dime. Michael had been outplayed. He didn't think any of the men in cloaks would be packing, and now Michael really did feel stupid getting stuck in this situation. So, Mr. Connelly, what do you want to say now? Asked Mr. Rosemary. I guess I can at least cap Mr. Sage over there off before you really want to die right now, Mr. Connelly, asked Mr. Rosemary again. Michael didn't respond. Mr. Connelly, what's wrong? No more wisecracks, and you were doing so well a second ago. No, I'm fresh out and I'm starting to get tired. And Michael really was that, feeling very distraught and discouraged of everything. He was now realizing these guys weren't exactly the cockskulls or beefcakes he was used to. None of the good old gangs he'd step up to with his fists and have them be enough. Michael felt out of league now here and missing his buddies. These guys were definitely a hell of a lot more formidable. And it would have probably been better if he didn't start off by pointing a gun at them.
Well, Mr. Connelly, if it's any consolation, if you're wondering what we're here for, it has little to do with killing you. So what is it then? Asked Michael. Well, let's first start off by you telling us something that you might know about a man named Mr. Dorian. Michael said nothing. He found it strange that these men would know the big white head by his real name, and that they would think he would too, and began to wonder what connection they had with him, and from there on with Nikki. And now Michael also wondered what information he should give out without giving away too much. I don't even know what would be giving away too much. I got no basis here, and what danger I'd be putting myself and Nikki in by doing so. Who? Asked Michael, playing it dumb. I don't know how they know I know the guy, but they might be testing to see if I do, so it's best that I seem like I don't. Does that make sense? The oubliettes then looked at each other. Okay. What do you know about the big white head? Asked Mr. Dime, or was it the big white head? What do you want me to say about him? He's a nutcase that wants to start anarchy in the city. He's been all over the television, responded Michael. Is that all? And now Michael felt like it was time to put some serious thought into figuring out what the fuck was going on here and what this whole conversation was about, really, before saying anything else. Okay, so it's like this. These guys want me to say something about Mr. Dorian, so that means they think I might know something, which means they know I was at 1999 with Nikki, so they know everything. But how do they know? Are they with Mr. Dorian? Did he tell them about me? No, they can't be. If they were, they wouldn't be asking me about him, since they'd be with him and would know. But if they're not with him, again, how do they know? Michael wasn't sure of that, but he was at least sure of one thing now, and that was they couldn't have been with Mr. Dorian. Or am I missing out on something, and they still could? Maybe they're only leading me on to think they don't. Shit, this is getting confusing. So, what do you guys want to know about the big white head that you don't know already? Asked Michael. Actually, we're not entirely sure. Why don't you just start from the beginning and we'll tell you if the information you have is worth our attention. Michael wasn't even sure who was talking anymore, Mr. Rosemary, Mr. Sage. Michael was right now confusing himself with all his own thoughts. So now these guys had become a mixed bag and Mr. Parsley still hadn't moved an inch. Okay, it's like this. What's going to happen if I give away too much info? And if they're going to kill me, are they going to kill Nikki? I mean, that's all that matters to me right now. If I give away, but then Michael thought about how giving away too much info might get all those people at that building killed with the bomb. I don't have time to worry about that right now. Right now, my priorities are me and Nikki. So what's going to get me and Nikki killed? And once again, how do they know about all this? Right now, the only people that know about what happened at 1999 building was me, Mr. Dorian, and shit. But then all of a sudden, a really scary thought occurred to Michael, coming to terms with who that inside person of the oubliettes might be. Shit. What if she's with them? But then I'm with her, so why am I having this conversation with them now unless it was all in Nikki's intent for Michael to be put through? That's not possible. What's the rationale that it wouldn't be possible, Michael? The rationale is, what fucking point would having me questioned by these clowns now serve if she was with them? Having them put me through all this. I only know as much as only Nikki would. Since she's the one that filled me in on all this, I'm the new guy here, fresh-faced nobody. What the fuck would I have to do with all this crap? About Mr. Dorian? About the bomb? What? So what do you have to say for us, Mr. Connelly? I got nothing, cried Michael. This was all starting to feel like being stuck between a rock and a hard place. On one end, being questioned by them. On another end, questioned by his own uncertainties. And feeling stuck there, Michael was beginning to enter into fight or flight mode. I got nothing. And I'm starting to get tired of the charade you assholes are playing here, and I'm not interested in talking to you people anymore. Responded Michael and felt done. I don't want to give away too much info. Mr. Connelly, please. Stop calling me Mr. Connelly, barked out Michael, growing more irritated by his second. Ask yourself, Michael, is the information you really have worth risking your life over? Asked one of them again. What about Nikki? Michael felt it was about time he should mention her and see what their reaction would be, to see what they might say in regards to her. Obviously, if they knew of his involvement with what happened at 1999 building, then they definitely had to know about hers. What about her? Why don't you guys tell me something about the lady, and I might tell you something about the big white head? Explained Michael. The judges didn't respond. You schmoes can play games all you want, but I'm just here looking for her. So if you want answers, well, and now something occurred to Michael. Ah, shit. Maybe she really is with them. Michael just now remembered catching Nikki on a lie when he asked her if anyone else knew about the situation in 1999. Michael was now beginning to figure that these oubliettes here might have been them, and therefore she would be with them also. So, I don't know, how about you guys start from the beginning, said Michael, spinning their line right back at them. Michael wanted to know why Nikki was hiding them. Also, how she would be involved with them. No, Nikki, baby. Please tell me that you didn't fall this far down the rabbit hole getting involved with men like these. I mean, even if you did, why would you have them questioning me now? What purpose would this serve? What the fuck info do I got about all this crap that even you would want? And then a really terrifying thought went through Michael. No. They're not just here to off me by her wishes. No, that's definitely not. The fucking bitch lady. This is all her fault. You're wondering if she's with us. Guess one of them. And Michael now freaked. Fuck. How the fuck did they know that? How the fuck did they know I'm worried about that? Are they mind readers too or something? What if we were to say that she is? Michael didn't respond, but noticed something else now. Look at how they're grinning at me. They know this is fucking with me. They know. So that would mean... Michael now understood these cloaked figures were still just testing him, and mostly trying to spread his line of thought into any direction, from fear that they might have her as a hostage or fear that Nikki might be part of them, even so far as to have them kill Michael now that she was through with his usefulness. The less they said, the more Michael thought, and was left feeling afraid and confused. Fucking judges, they got me on trial and they're trying to get me to spill the beans, and I don't even know what that is. But then Michael came to terms with something. Okay, so it's like this. Obviously, they're asking me questions because they think I might have information that they need. If they were here just to kill me, they would have done that already. That at least is obvious. What that information is, I don't know. But Nikki wouldn't have any part in this because everything I know, she knows, since she's the one that introduced me to all this. So even if she's somehow connected to them, she's at least not involved with them now trying to get me to say something. And she's definitely hasn't asked them to off me, because that would have happened already. And Michael felt relieved coming to that realization. But still, what info do they need from me? The only thing I really learned was how there's a bomb, and now Michael figured that was all they had to be really interested in, the bomb. Okay. And then Michael realized something important. So, what if I mention something about the bomb? It really doesn't have anything to do with me. Any info about the bomb or Mr. Dorian, none of that's important. Not, and what threat it would be to me and Nikki's if I mentioned it. If they know this much about my involvement, then they must definitely know about hers also, as I've already concluded. And since the only thing I'm right now interested in besides getting out of this mess alive is finding out what they know about Nikki, maybe I can use whatever knowledge they think I know as leverage. Michael? Michael looked up, made a coy smile, and now felt he was ready to play their charades a little while longer, and now said, Daisy Cutter. And nothing more. And the oubliettes then just looked at each other, seeing as how Michael was trying to play their game. You see, Mr. Connelly, you're intelligent. All that time spent in prison educating yourself has really paid off. How the fuck do you know all this much? Do they have my prison records of me there at hand? And what was getting to him was how much they knew of his story compared to how little he knew of theirs. And what they knew were stuff that mattered to Michael on a very personal level, especially now since it was info that Michael still wasn't sure how he felt about. Stuff he was still in the process of processing, hadn't yet built the resolve he felt he could feel fit to carry. For the info they had about him was about the time there Michael had really tried to better himself in prison into being something more than a has-been boxer or some motorcycle thief. Fuck the shit I'm into now, and in a way, fuck this whole wanting to be my old self shit. Since it's done nothing but got me into all this mess, becoming a murderer. Before all this, when his release date came back some 8 months ago, Michael had other plans. Plans he'd been building up for the entire time he was in there. I didn't spend all those years thinking about going hog wild like I have once I got out. No. During those years, Michael was all about preparing himself for a new life, obeying the will of civilized reasoning, and living the modest life as everyone else was. Kind of like what Gabe said about me being in my 30s and how maybe I should grow the fuck up and stop trying to be my old self. But instead, here he was now, just not having listened to any of that better reasoning. Now a murderer, now running around in the woods at night, dealing with weirdos like these, and looking for a coked-up mad woman he was now in love with, while possibly trying real hard to get himself killed in the process just to escape having to go back to prison, if and when he was to get caught again. Michael then looked down at his mitts and saw how they were still making him feel sick to his stomach, ever since they started talking to him all weird with that, "Stop thinking it was demonic. It wasn't demonic, okay?" Yeah, but I'm still a fucking moron, though. So if you ask me, all that I tried to do for myself in prison still went to waste, expressed Michael, succumbing to those feelings of self-pity he had been saving up for. No, we wouldn't say that. And now Michael came back center, seeing how spread open he was at center stage with all these weirdos around watching. What are you guys trying to do now? Make me feel better? Michael laughed a bit at the thought as the Halloween gang continued standing there, grinning like they were growing amused with Michael's woes in life. You guys want the codes, don't you? Let out Michael, as it started to click for him what they might be really after, getting a sense of the bigger picture. Good, Mr. Connelly. Very good. Why? The oubliettes didn't respond, but Michael then understood it didn't matter since they had already given him the answer to the only question they really had in mind, Nikki's involvement. It really just now dawned on him that if they wanted the coats, then there was no way Nikki had sided with them or was with them as a hostage. And I guess what that means is what they're really asking me about is what I know about her whereabouts, since what they're looking for is the codes, since they now need my help to find her. And that's why they're asking me all these questions and playing these mind games. That's why. They had just given him away the only answer to the only true question Michael was concerned with, and it was a relief. Well, if you guys are keeping me up expecting me to know those codes, then you're all wasting your time, explained Michael. Come on, Mr. Connelly. The lady must have told you something. What? Didn't I make it clear? I don't know. And why would Nikki give away such info to me? Exclaimed Michael. All right, we can understand that, but you must know something about where we can find her now. Where were you two headed while you were being chased by Mr. Dorian's men? Can't tell them we were going to Harlem. We were getting out of town, lied Michael. And what? If she isn't here, then she could be anywhere by now. So why ask me? Lashed out Michael. If you and Miss Jackson were headed out of Uptown, then why didn't you take any of the bridges and tunnels that were near the financial district? Why travel all the way north? Even though Michael at least felt somewhat relieved that Nikki wasn't in their hands or involved with them, he knew it wouldn't be long before they'd find out the whereabouts of her location by themselves. They seemed to have a knack for retrieving information one way or another, and Michael needed to do something before they lost interest in keeping him around. Mr. Connelly, we didn't hear an answer. You know, I'm kind of curious. Whatever happened to those night slashers I heard so much about? Asked Michael as he smiled. No response. I mean, really? They don't exist at all? It's just you dorks? Did you guys just make them up to scare off pricks like me from entering your woods? Asked Michael as he then realized he pretty much answered his own question. Make up a bunch of bull about deranged nutbags and cloaks with scythes to scare away pricks like me? Makes sense. Mr. Parsley had now finally moved, and he was no longer grinning like an idiot in Michael's direction. He was now frowning. Ah, there you are, Mr. Parsley. For a second there I thought you had a heart attack and petrified in place, sassed Michael. Mr. Connelly, you're now beginning to waste our time. We're afraid if you can't prove to be any more value to us, we are unfortunately going to have to let you go, replied Parsley. Michael felt like making more jokes. It was making him feel better. You know, you guys could have at least kept the sights. I mean, I know this might sound strange, but I was kind of hoping to see a mess of raving lunatics chasing me around, waving around sights like a bunch of dumbass schools, while Benny Hill's soundtrack played on the side, at least for the sake of entertainment. Mr. Connelly. The 10-man was finally moving and speaking now that Michael had oiled him up with his usual charm. Fuck you. Fuck you guys. Fuck you all. How about you guys take off those stupid KKK-looking hoods and show me who you assholes really are, demanded Michael. So is that your final word, Mr. Connelly? Michael needed to say something, anything. Mr. Dime, or was it Mr. Sage, was still holding a gun to the back of his head, and Michael wasn't just ready to see his brains fly out before his eyes. No. She's in Washington Heights, blurted out Michael as he eyed each one of their faces to see if they had bought it. Where in Washington Heights? Honestly, I forgot the street name, but I know the place by sight, so maybe if I come along, I can show you the place, said Michael. Yeah, that's good. Now they have to take me along, and I might be able to figure out a way to make an escape by then. Michael took a big gulp as he saw some of them shaking their heads. It was becoming apparent to Michael that the oubliettes knew he was downright lying to them, but they didn't seem too bothered by it. And strangely enough, they seemed to be interested in playing along with his ruse. Okay, Mr. Connelly, I guess you're coming to Washington Heights with us. But you do know what will happen if we find out you've been lying to us, right? This was all Mr. Parsley now speaking to Michael. Fucking sadists? I don't know, maybe. You rip off my head and shit down my neck? Guessed Michael as he grinned apprehensively. Mr. Parsley then had a faint laugh to himself, as if he was entertaining the idea, and then said, I don't know. I think we can be a little bit more creative than that.